Our last guest for today is going to be Nancy Nies. And Nancy, you have a show here on KLAV, actually
Yes,
called Dance Charisma.
Yes, and pardon me, but it's Nancy Nies.
Nies, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Like nephew is the easy way to remember it. Anyway, yes, I have dancing on air because my job is my day job, you want to call it, author on the side here. But anyway, I run Dance Charisma. It's a dance studio, a ballroom in Latin, the kind of stuff you see like on Dancing with the Stars and that kind of dancing, which is a career that I did midlife and made a big change in my mid-30s to switch on over to dance, which I love, but it's very time-consuming. So, as for my own self, I've always wanted to write books, always, always. It's my earliest memory. I remember telling my mother I wanted to be a booker, and she said, what do you mean? And that's when I found out author was the word I was looking for. I learned to read in order to become a writer. I mean, that's how I went about it. And so all through, I was always writing and still am. And but most of it isn't anything that you would publish. I'm on only my second book at the moment, and it was really funny because it was just meeting you that got me off my duffer to get moving towards writing a book. Because first of all, if you run a dance studio and you compete at ballroom dance, you spend all your time dancing, practicing, and of course running a business is a full-time occupation. And so I didn't, and also when I first started writing in college and in high school and junior high, I was always in all these creative writing courses and had deadlines and that sort of thing. And but I found that if I kept writing and kept writing and kept writing, it was almost like I stopped living. I would walk into a room, and in the back of my head I'd hear, "She walked into the room." And so I felt distant from the world that I was living in, and I thought, okay, I'm going to put off writing till I've lived a bit. And I made up my mind that in my 50s, and I'm in my 50s now, I would get back to writing. And so then when I met you, and you said, well, what are you writing? I said, I guess I better get started because it's time.
We actually gave you a deadline.
Yeah, and I actually got it underway. And I hadn't written in a long, long time, but I found out it was like riding a bicycle. It just comes. So anyway, what I'm writing at the moment is this book. It involves dancing because naturally that's what I know. And so I've always been a huge fan of Dick Francis books. He always has a backdrop of horse racing while he has these mysteries going on. So I am writing a mystery novel about this lady who works in a dance studio. And yeah, what a thought. I've always been a big fan of books that don't necessarily just totally change your life like Shakespeare, but on the other hand that aren't just a complete time waster either, that they move you. And I wanted to get into that realm and leave people with little bits and pieces of the writing itself as they read a story that they can relate to with people, ordinary like people in their lives.
Okay.
So my thought of a targeted audience goes back to when I was flying everywhere all the time, and I nearly always would grab a book right there in the airport, take it on the plane, and really kind of hope to be done about by the time I checked into the hotel room. And so if I were to say I had a specific targeted audience, it would be people who fly on airplanes. And I don't know if that's specific enough because it's not like too much of a common interest, just a common behavior. So I don't know.
Well, actually there's a lot to that. When I published both my novels, I self-published, and what I did is I did the same thing. I actually have a larger print than your typical paperback, and I did that on purpose so that if someone's on a plane, it's easier for them to read.
I know all about promotion and obsession. Really, anytime you want to get ahead at something, you generally have to be utterly obsessed with it. And I agree very much with the comment that we have to be genuine, because if it's not part of you, and then you think, oh, I got to remember to tell this person this and that, how are they going to feel about it? Am I intruding if I go on and on what I'm doing for a living, or they're going to feel sold? That's the wrong path. But if you go, I'm working on this, and I just love it to death, and I just here it is, then they're feeling it from your heart, and then they appreciate what you have to say.